Okay, so it seems like we have a little bit of an update on the whole Adora Bunny situation, which has been a pretty interesting one over the past couple of weeks. If you guys don't remember, essentially there was a whole Google Doc war between her and another VTuber called Radioactive, where essentially the outcome was a lot of people were against Adora Bunny and with Radia after a lot of the kind of stuff that came out and people understanding how the situation went on. Now, if you guys want to know more about that situation in detail, I definitely recommend going back and looking at my video on that. We went through the whole Google Doc of both of them and kind of talked about it. Now, obviously, there's been a situation though where essentially Adora Bunny has been kind of lumped in with the whole Takahata101 situation, which we covered like months ago. I think it was back in May. You know, there was this whole thing of Takahata quitting and saying like there's a ton of allegations and things out about him, and there's a lot of people and a lot of his close friends that were kind of abandoning him, saying, you know, yeah, screw this guy, I'm not going to be interacting with him anymore. Now, obviously, they never actually came up with the reason behind this, but it seems like Adora Bunny is now going to be leaving, but has also dropped a pretty big bomb on Takahata101, saying, "This has weighed heavily on me since January." He said, "The reason I distanced from Takahata101 earlier this year was because Redclaw had shown me an anonymous victim's allegation of Takahata doing something to her." Obviously, I can't say that on YouTube. You guys can read that right there. Obviously, absolutely terrible. He said, "I distanced from Taka after I read that." And then also they followed up saying, I'm retired from VTubing and will not be rebranding. After I find new work, I'll be sending out remaining prints to my community that I still owe. So yeah, obviously Adora Bunny is now leaving. Obviously, probably because of all of the stuff that has happened, which is kind of crazy, and also has dropped this massive bombshell on Takahata, essentially claiming that he, you know, did that to a woman. Now, obviously, we don't know if that is true or not. You know, obviously, Adora Bunny has already been involved in a lot of controversy, and a lot of her, her Google Doc was very weird in the whole response to Radia. Again, there was a lot of very weird things in there. Again, you guys can go back, watch the video on that, and make up your own mind. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if she did try to stretch the truth, maybe lie about it, to kind of get the attention away from her. But also, at the same time, she could be completely genuine in this, and this could be an actual issue that has been going on behind the scenes, because as we know, Takahata has left for some reason. We just didn't know why, and potentially this could be the reason as to why. We don't know. Again, it's all up in arms at the moment, and obviously a lot of people are still not happy with Adora Bunny, though. As you can see, it's got 12,000 views and only 26 likes. I mean, obviously, you know, it's not looking very good for her if you get that kind of ratio, especially on a post where you're calling out someone for doing something so awful. Obviously, they also provide these screenshots here from a person called Redclaw saying this should send an order. This is everything that happened with the exception of the last text he sent, which was after it happened. And obviously he said this was after it happened. It said, "Was Taka's name submitted with the police report? Just wanted to make sure." It said his real name was. So apparently, you know, the police are involved with that as well, which is very interesting. And obviously, you know, a lot of people are now talking about this because it is a pretty crazy allegation to be throwing towards someone, you know, of this kind of caliber. Now, a lot of people in the quotes have obviously been saying, "Trying to distract and deflect from your own heinous wrongdoings. Don't play us for fools, Adora." And obviously that is 100% true. I mean, this is definitely an attempt, even if it is true, it's definitely an attempt to kind of get a lot of the heat away from her after the whole radio situation, which I think obviously isn't great at all. And obviously, you know, they're censoring it for the victim's safety and stuff. But honestly, in a situation like this, I think the only time that it should be shared online is when the victim wants it to be shared online. You know, obviously they're saying Redclaw had shown it to them. I don't know how involved Redclaw was with this, but obviously, you know, they said censored for the victim's safety. So surely the victim should be the one coming out about this, not Adora Bunny trying to get the heat off of her and posting it. Because again, obviously if they're censoring it for the victim's safety, then surely the victim doesn't want this to be known, or doesn't want them to be known in the space yet. So again, obviously people saying this feels like any government file that gets declassified, but this is very interesting and kind of funny to have this randomly thrown onto the timeline on a random Wednesday at 7 p.m. Can I be perfectly honest with you guys? I don't buy it. I don't buy a goddamn word of this until I see some hard evidence, which is 100% true as well. You know, obviously the evidence that Adora Bunny has provided isn't great because obviously they censored a ton of the messages, which obviously, you know, is great and all. But that's exactly why I said they should wait for the victim to kind of say something about this, because then they can show the messages that they want as evidence, rather than showing us a ton of random censored messages and just saying, showing like a kind of, I guess, a conversation with someone saying, this is when it happened, this is after it happened. You know, that really isn't evidence behind it because it's not coming from them and we don't have any actual proof behind this. And people saying, I'll be sweating if I ever told Adora anything personal at this point, which, yeah, 100% true. You know, if you have told her anything personal, expect it to be exposed out on Twitter to try and kind of save face, I guess. I said a few things. Why reveal this now? It's just like you're trying to take attention away from yourself, which is 100% true. You know, obviously another important point is these messages were back from the 11th of January, you know, and obviously she doesn't care about it, you know, being shown to the public. So why does she decide to do this now? And obviously, you know, it's a lot of people obviously saying it's her trying to take her attention away from herself. They're saying, even if this is 100% true, the amount of scrutiny people will have to take because it's you of all people who revealed. Said, this is not up to you to reveal or bring out. Others who discussed Taka tried to leave such a serious topic to the police and out of the internet and away from the reactionary mob as best as they could. You can't even go out in peace, but have to be screwed on more people, which obviously, yeah, is 100% true, because even a lot of Takahata's friends, the ones that were saying like, you know, we've heard everything that's happened and I'm not going to be kind of, you know, working with him in the future or anything like that, or being friends with him in the future, right? But none of them decided to actually say exactly what they did, because obviously it was a private thing, you know, they're sorting it out with the police or whatever was going on with that, and, you know, that's a totally valid thing. And, you know, now Adora has come into the picture and tried to expose some of it, and obviously if it is true, then she's just kind of blowing a pretty confidential thing that has been going on in the background. And you know, it's, as I said, it's not up to her to do that. It's up to obviously the victim to share that, if they even want to share that in the first place. You know, they said, I wish we would tell, if we could tell if this is actually what was said, but you and Redclaw apparently forgot to show anything. I said, well, there you go, they decided to come out and say it, I guess, but do you trust them? And again, we don't know. It's very weird, and you know, it's one of these situations where Adora Bunny is clearly trying to get attention away from herself. She's trying to, you know, divert a lot of the attention to Takahata101 instead of herself, so she can just go off and ride out into the sunset, I guess, as she, you know, leaves the VTubing space. But also at the same time, you know, it's a development on the Takahata situation if it is true, and it's just one of these things that sucks because it should have been, you know, private. But now Adora has gone and shared this. You know, they're saying Adora decided to post this last night. All info is censored. Her reply to the tweet is a graduation announcement, and put a question mark. People saying this looks like like to divert attention from her own drama with Radia. 100% true. This is clearly Adora trying to garner some last-minute sympathy before she graduates. Everybody else involved in this has refused to talk about it because, in their words, it's not their story to talk about. Meanwhile, Adora is like, hold my beer. You can clearly tell that she doesn't have permission to post this from the victim because everything is heavily censored, which, yeah, it's what I said at the start. You know, if this was, you know, obviously fully approved by the victim, then they would have just shown the messages, you know, because the victim would want people to know exactly what was said so that people don't say stuff like, hey, we have no clue what the hell is going on here because everything is censored, you know? So again, obviously people saying, that's the thing that gets me the most here. Everything about this feels so disrespectful towards the alleged victim here. Not only does it feel like she didn't get the victim's go-ahead to do this, but the way that she did this doesn't actually do anything to help said victim, which, yeah, 100% true. This doesn't help anything, you know? And if anything, it could make things worse. It could obviously disrupt a lot of the police's time if they are involved with, you know, a lot of internet stuff that is now going on. And, you know, again, it could actually hinder the case more than help it. So, again, it's so dumb. Since so much was redacted that it doesn't even paint a vague picture of what allegedly happened, let alone give anyone a real reason to believe if any of it, yeah. So all Adora accomplished was give people reason to question if this is in fact a false allegation or not, which is the absolute last thing anyone cares about the victim should do. Not saying that Taka is guilty or not, by the way. If that's how this is coming across, it's just that if he is in fact guilty of this, then Adora doing this in such a poor, sloppy, and ill-timed manner may have actively made things even worse for the victim. If he's not actually guilty, then that's another whole can of worms, and another one that makes Adora look absolutely terrible for doing this. Yeah, either way, Adora looks terrible in this situation, whether he's done it or not. You know, she's gone against the will of, well, not against the will, but like, she's kind of gone against the victim here in terms of releasing it early, if it is real, and releasing it without their kind of, explicit permission, I guess, because, again, they weren't, they censored literally everything in that screenshot there, or she's just made up a completely false allegation, which, again, as I said, either way, it looks bad for her. There is no good, angle for this. He said, yeah, no care about the victim. We didn't even know if the victim wanted this to be aired public. 100% true, even if this is true or not, it's disgusting thing to drop. Every other person associated with the situation has said that it's not their story to tell and stayed the hell away from it. Adora drops it just because, I mean, the drama around her has already moved on, so why has she done this? It makes her look worse. And so it definitely feels like she's using these allegations as a smokescreen to run from her own drama, which, even if those allegations are true or not, it's a horrible thing to do. It's using someone else's suffering as a distraction. Keeps it private, throws it away in public, say gossip, 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 illegible screenshot, gossip, gossip. We pretty much have seen everything Adora Bunny is moving on, So she redacts literally everything and throws out a allegation. Are we supposed to believe her? I get the victims most of the time don't come forwards, but maybe Adora just wanted to expose them on the way out. But if that's the case, why black out everything? Now it's just a he said, she said thing revealed by someone not even involved. Am I missing something here? This also puts Redclaw in an awkward situation where he basically has to say something now, which is also true. The person in the screenshot, Redclaw, again, I don't know who Redclaw is. I don't know if they're a VTuber or whatever, or maybe just a friend or whatever. But it also puts them in a pretty sticky situation here because I don't even know if they wanted this to be revealed, But again, obviously it was supposed to be a conversation between those two, and it ended up getting published to Twitter. And that's why a lot of people were saying, like, hey, if you got anything personal you said to Adora, you better watch out because she's probably going to expose it on Twitter as well to try get herself some extra brownie points, They said this is a serious accusation if this is true, and I don't want to claim otherwise, but this is a hell of a bombshell to drop at a time with her own problems. And yeah, again, it's literally just an attempt at a distraction. I don't think it is a distraction because everyone's just instantly called it out, being like, hold on a minute. I'm glad that a lot of people have noticed that, but it's also something to take seriously as well. So again, they're saying she's graduating right. That's all I need to know. Good riddance. That, as others have said, it's true. If it doesn't, if this is true or not, it doesn't matter. She did this as a deflection attempt, a disgusting move. That said, if this is true, the hell with Takahata101. So I'm very curious to see how the Taka stuff plays out, especially since he's pursuing legal action. I'm also wondering if it's a recent thing or a long time ago, like before he got sober. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of develops. Obviously, Taka hasn't actually said anything since the initial tweet on May 9th, talking about this entire thing, and obviously a lot of his friends dropping a lot of things. So maybe he might come back and talk about Adora dropping this and maybe try to refute it. I don't know. Or maybe he might stay silent because, again, there is what it seems like to be some kind of legal police, whatever kind of case going on behind the scenes. So maybe they just want to deal with it that way and just ignore people like Adora who are trying to bring this to the internet, which honestly I think will probably be the better thing because, yeah, Adora, obviously it's just a scummy move either way, no matter whether it is true or not. And she is just trying to, I guess, save face in any way possible, but it's failing. And thank God she is leaving, and thank God this is a graduation announcement as well, because hopefully, we will never have to deal with this again, and hopefully she can just go and, just pretty much get out, That's essentially what people want, and that's essentially what's going to happen. So, again, I guess it does have a good ending in terms of Adora, but in terms of Takahata and a lot of the stuff that has come out now, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens and how Takahata responds, how maybe some of the ex-friends or even current friends respond to that, because again, it is a very serious thing that has kind of been put out there now. Obviously, it's only been like, not even a day, so again, there might be some more updates, and obviously I'll keep you guys up to date if there is any more updates on that, because again, it's a pretty crazy situation and a pretty crazy accusation to drop. So again, we'll have to see, we'll have to wait. And obviously, as I said, I'll keep you guys up to date. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. I definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, that's what I got. And I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.